Welcome to Lecture 5. We'll be talking about stereotype maintenance and specifically how backlash effects reinforce cultural gender stereotypes. And the topic today is prejudice against female leaders. So despite society having made great strides towards gender equality just in my lifetime, gender stereotype violation continues to be taboo. As a result, women who display behaviors or traits inconsistent with feminine norms risk backlash. So in this lecture, I will explain why that is and how backlash functions to maintain not just gender stereotypes, but the gender status quo. Backlash effects reveal a double standard for agentic behaviors, including women having less latitude for leadership style. They have to be participatory and inclusive, rather than having the option to be more direct or assertive in their leadership style. Men can even be authoritarians. People lap that up. But women, they really have a narrow bandwidth for what's acceptable in terms of their leadership style. Same thing with communication. Women can't self-promote. They can't criticize others. They can't even have strong opinions or be blunt. Women also can't negotiate, for example, a better salary without risking the impression that they're somehow demanding and pushy. So consider Satya Nadella's advice. He's a top Microsoft executive, and he was giving a talk at a conference for women in technology. And after his speech, a woman asked him, do you have any advice for how we can ask for a raise? And he outright said, never ask for a raise, and advised them to instead trust faith and karma that they would be rewarded appropriately, right? Just sort of like stay silent and pray. And why? He was asked why. He said, so I'll trust you. He didn't trust women who would ask for something for themselves. And that caused a huge stir. The women at Microsoft were up in arms, so he quickly apologized. But can you imagine anyone saying the same to men, advising men don't ever ask for a raise, instead trust in faith and karma that you'll be rewarded appropriately? No, you can't, right? And in fact, research shows that men are rewarded when they ask for things, whether it's a raise or a promotion or more challenging projects so that they can show that they're good at something, right? Whereas comparable women are punished for not being nice. So this shows you that there's a lot of rules and that women, when they violate them, get in trouble, right? Gender in general creates expectations about your traits, your talents, how you should act, what roles you should occupy, and even what you should value. So when a vanguard comes along and disconfirms gender rules or gender expectancy, then perceivers may respond with backlash. It's like you're threatening their world view. So here's a man who says, I look forward to limiting your growth, as he shakes the hand of a new female employee, suggesting that she's headed straight for that glass ceiling, the proverbial phenomenon whereby women can only make it so far up the corporate ladder and then they hit the ceiling. So why do we have the glass ceiling? It exists, at least in part, because women face a catch-22, which is a situation in which, hey, you're damned if you do, or you're damned if you don't. What do I mean by that? Well, women's specific catch-22, the dilemma that they're in, is that in order to be viewed as fit for leadership, women must overcome negative stereotypes about their competence. That is, show agency. So people sort of automatically assume that men make better leaders than women, right? So women have to get up and over that first hurdle, and a great way to do that is to be agentic. In fact, asserting your competence, brandishing your skills, giving evidence that you are qualified is very effective at persuading others that you can handle the job. But the problem is when women do that, they risk backlash. That is, people don't like them. They go, oh, she's bright and capable, but there's just something about her I don't like. So that gives women two hurdles when they compete for leadership roles. They have to defeat negative stereotypes, but the tools that most people, like men, can use in order to convince somebody that they're good at something, they backfire on women when they use them, and folks walk away going, I don't like her. So why do I study this? Because in grad school, my male advisors kept telling me that the reason why there weren't very many women in academia is because women needed to be more self-promoting. First, to get hired, and then second, to be promoted to tenure. But I had an intuition that displays of confidence, assertiveness, and ambition might backfire for women. So I started to research backlash effects. A lot of my work uses a hiring paradigm in which participants are exposed to agentic or communal male or female managerial job applicants, and then they rate them on their competence, likability, and hireability. Is this person qualified? How do you feel about this person? Do you like them? Do you trust them? And then, would you recommend that they be hired? Agentic applicants are confident, ambitious, and competitive, qualities necessary for leadership. Communal applicants are relatively modest and other-oriented. And it turns out in study after study, people like communal applicants, whether they're male or female, more than they like agentic men and women, but they don't get the job because they're not rated as competent enough to be hired as managers. Men and women use the identical scripts, so the only thing that differs is their gender. We also train them with nonverbal behaviors and we do our very best to try to get them to enact the script in as similarly as possible. So I'm just going to give you one example of question and answer, because later on you're going to get to see more. So let's say the question is, what kind of managerial style do you have? Agentics answer, there's no question about it. I like to be the boss. I let people know what's expected of them, and I'm able to lean on people if they lag behind. But I'm also quick to spot talent and to promote people who deserve it and who will do their best for me. Communal applicants are more modest. They say, my preference is to get people together and to come to some consensus about the decisions that have to be made. I like to have plenty of input from the people who work with me. So the next slide shows a meta-analysis of 8 backlash studies, and the way I scored it is to reflect gender bias. A high bar means that men are rated higher than women. And I'm showing you the results in effect sizes because over different studies there were different scales. So this is a way of standardizing the results and then being able to average them, much like Janet Hyde did. And I'm just reminding you that Ds of 0.2, 0.5, and 0.8 correspond to small, medium, and large effects. Okay, so what do we have here? On this side are communal applicants, and you can see that communal men are rated as more competent than communal women. The effect size doesn't reach even moderate in magnitude, but it's still a consistent effect that we find. And as a result, they're more likely to be hired than communal women. Likability doesn't differ. People see communal men and women as equally likable. Over here, when we look at agentics, we see that agentic women are viewed as somewhat more competent than agentic men, but this is a very small effect size, so we pay it no mind. We consider that they're viewed as equally competent. But it's likability where agentic women get into trouble. It's reaching up there, up into that 0.8 area where agentic men are liked a whole lot more than agentic women are. And so not surprisingly, who gets the job? Agentic men more often than agentic women. So what these findings show is that women are in a double bind, or a catch-22. If they fail to act like men, they are viewed as incompetent, but if they act like men, they're not liked and not hired for leadership roles. As Carly Fiorina puts it, I'm either a bimbo or a bitch. Carly Fiorina, you may remember she ran for president in 2016, but she was also Hewlett-Packard's first female CEO. And that's when she wrote a memoir in which she says she struggled with this catch-22. People saw her as either a bimbo or a bitch. Double standards for behaviors necessary in order to be successful are one reason why gender inequality persists. Pantene is a company that makes hair products, but they also made, I think, a pretty good ad to highlight gender double standards. So I'm going to show that to you in the next video up that will come next. And then right after that, you'll watch 8 short clips that I've used in my backlash research. Both Marcia and Joe are competing for the same job. In this case, the job is computer lab manager. And they, of course, will use the same script. If you find yourself liking Joe better, that's probably because you expect men to be agentic. And then after you watch about 4 short clips of Marcia and 4 short clips of Joe, you'll watch Diane Sawyer talk about my work, and you'll see my graduate student, Corinne Masrikusin, being interviewed when she was a postdoc at Yale. She's now a professor at Skidmore College. And you will see Diane Sawyer is a little confused. She claims that the research was done at Yale. It wasn't. It was done here at Rutgers. But I think the fact that Corinne was then a postdoc at Yale is what confused her. Now, Sawyer also uses Marcia and Joe as, to present the stimulus materials. But I want to tell you now that over 20 years of studying backlash, I've used many, many different Confederates, many types of managerial jobs, and a variety of scripts, and the results are the same. So I'll show you that commercial now.